It's Valentine's Day, and you're lonely. I can fix that. Welcome back, goblins and goblets, and welcome to my 2024 Valentine's Guide to the eligible singles of Morrowind. Man, Mer, Beast, everybody's included in this lovely video. I'll be rating and critiquing the NPCs on a scale of 1 to 10, and how well I think they would treat me. Despite having an eclectic cast of characters, none of the to-be-mentioned NPCs are actually romanceable, as romance wasn't properly introduced into the Elder Scrolls until Skyrim. And even this is a pretty basic form of romance for a video game. And sure, there are some mods that add romance into Morrowind, but they also add other questionable interactions into Morrowind, and I ain't about that. There are also well over 1,000 NPCs, so this isn't an exhaustive list, just the ones I have fond memories of interacting with, so let's get to it. To kick things off, let's start with the first person we encounter. The Mer, the myth, the legend, Jiub. Jiub? Jiub? However you want to pronounce his name. He is a fine introduction to the inhabitants of Vvardenfell. I know his concern for me sleeping on the boat and talking in my sleep goes a long way. That being said, the fact that he doesn't even know my name and we've taken a whole boat ride together, presumably from the Imperial prisons in Cyrodiil all the way to Seyda, and are the only passengers on the boat together, really makes me question if he cares about me or just my body. I'm still going to give him a 7.6 out of 10 because lore-wise he does go on to do great things like cleanse the lands of Vvardenfell of the Cliff Racer Scourge, and staring into his one good eye gives me hope of the future we can have. Next on my list is my man Socucius Urgala.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released.
Although he's an older gentleman, I think he'd be an excellent romance partner, as he truly seems to be the only person on this island that tries to get to know me and is asking intimate questions. He even asks me my birth sign.
Very good. The letter that preceded, you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
Mr. Lova.
Socucius is a man who knows things about me even I didn't know. The fact is, if you take his little quiz, he can give you a class recommendation. Now, is it of any value when you can make your own custom class? No, but is it cool and insightful? Kinda, yeah. In addition to this, he doesn't even try to stop me from taking the Limeware platter to help fund my adventures.
Continue through to the next building.
So I'm going to give him a solid 8. If he was younger, I think the relationship would be a little more appropriate and likely rank it higher, but we are both consenting adults after all. Following up Socucius is Fargoth. And he is a short king, and if you treat him right, is internally grateful for the simple act of returning a lame ring, but also a little bit whiny. Like a lot whiny. He seems to be the type of guy who will give you a ton of compliments, but as soon as you don't agree with him, he takes it personally. He's definitely going to play the victim in our relationship, even if he is the one doing all the harm. And is for sure gaslighting me into thinking that he is the real victim. The man has a real victim complex, and does seem to make enemies throughout his small town. Having annoyed the guards to the point they take his heirloom ring and hide it from him, and his guard clearly bullies the man. Fargoth should learn to stand up for himself instead of letting the world beat him down. Honestly, I feel he'd bring a lot of problems to a relationship, and it likely wouldn't last more than a few months, so 4.8 out of 10. A quick call to action before we get any further. If you enjoy my content, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks. This tall drink of yellow water is the owner and operator of Arrille's Trade House, the premier destination for all new transplants on Vvardenfell. I've probably chatted with this gentleman more times than I have with my own parents. And if we treat Fargoth with the most minimal basic decency, Arrille has a pretty good disposition with us as well. Outside of some pretty generic interactions, there's no real interactions that indicate if he'd be a good or bad romance partner. I like to think though, because he is a resourceful merchant, has some gear, spells, and useful starting equipment, he'd be a resourceful partner. You know, the type of guy who'd take you hiking and be prepared for whatever the journey may throw your way, be it bears, bugs, or Battlestar Galactica. Yes, he is close friends with Fargoth and appreciates you being kind to his little friend, but that's probably his only flaw. So with all that said, he's getting a 6.9. It would be a 7, but his natural weakness to any kind of magic makes him a little bit of a liability for our romantic adventures through Vvardenfell. Okay, so this list kind of seems like I'm building it based on people you interact with directly from the main quest, and yeah, I kinda am, but I have my reasons, because Daddy Caius, Caius Casades is Daddy. Yeah, he's Daddy. Sure, he may be a skooma addict, but he is my skooma addict. This isn't made clear if this is just a cover that he could stop at any time, or if he's actually a skooma addict and went too deep into his cover story, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this man guides us on our journey, lets us use anything in his little skooma den, except his skooma. Top this all off, the man is ripped, yoked to the skies, looking like Hugh Jackman in Logan, and despite his advanced age, he can take care of himself and me. Yes, he does abandon us later on, but at this point in the story, we are basically beyond his support, and yet he still gives us a little something to remember him by, as he is back to the Imperial capital to report to his superiors. 8.2 out of 10. Would be higher if he could get off the skooma. Now, this is likely not a very controversial take, but Vivec would not make a good romantic partner. First of all, this god already betrayed us in a past life, and only is regretting it now that his power is waning. So that'll be a few points off his score right away. And sure, he may have had a romantic tryst with the Daedric Prince of Grape, Molag Bal, lasting 88 days. Vivec sure has some endurance. He also details his partnerships in his 36 Lessons of Vivec in great detail. What kind of partner kisses and tells like that? Not a very good one. Honestly, I'm giving him a score is doing him more justice than he deserves, but he is on my list, so I gotta do it. 2.3 out of 10. Crassius Curio is a needy little man, but I put him on this list because he is easy to manipulate. If you're looking for a pay pig in the world of Tamriel, this is your guy. For a little kiss on the cheek, he'll willingly name you Hortator of House Halalu. Also, if you plan to rise to the ranks of House Halalu, he only asks to get a good look at you. Like, a really good look, but because of all this, I think he could easily be manipulated into being your submissive, if that's your thing. He strikes me as the type of man that goes to Dizel's House of Earthly Delights in Saran and asks for the women there to humiliate him in the back rooms. And he'd pay good money for it too. Nothing wrong with that, of course, no king shaman in Tamriel, so if that's what you're looking for, Crassius is your guy. It's been a while since I've done the House Halalu questline, but I finally remember my interactions with Crassius, or Uncle Crassius as he calls himself, despite his odd requests as a man that was looking out for us during our rise through the ranks. So I'm going to score him based on this as a low 6.3 out of 10. Mainly because I'm not looking for a pay pig, but if I was, this guy is a solid 8. Despite him being the big bad of the game, I think Dagoth Ur would make a pretty decent Valentine. Despite him being neglected by the original incarnation of the Nerevarine, he is forgiving, and is willing to accept us into his inner circle and reestablish the partnership we once had. Sure, he wants to spread Corpus around and even enslave the beloved Argonians and drive out the Outlanders, but I think with at least enough time and compassion, he may be able to see the error in his ways, at least regarding the Argonians. They are just so adorable, at least in Morrowind, not so much in Oblivion. He greets us as a friend and ally, and doesn't immediately try and kill us unlike someone else does as soon as they discover we may be the incarnation of the Nerevarine. And sure, he's running a cult that has sleeper agents all over Vvardenfell, and some of them even, namely the ash ghouls and zombies, have had their faces mutilated through magic. Doesn't mean he would treat me any worse than the Vivec, that's for sure. But since in the game there is no way to persuade him or convince him to give up his crusade, he is a mad god after all. I'm gonna score him a 4.8 out of 10. Ah yes, Yagram Bagarn, the master crafter and last dwemer known to Myr. He is infected with Corpus, doesn't show any signs of the disease impacting him like other Corpus infected patients, and is a master crafter and enchanter, meaning he could in theory create you amazing pieces of jewelry and gifts, if he wanted to. That being said, he seems content staying in his little gross Myr cave, and hey, I'm a homebody too, but going out is fun every now and then, and this little guy I don't think would care much for sunlight or fresh air. Keeping this one short and sweet, just like the Dwemer himself, I'm scoring him a 6 out of 10. He is useful to both the main story and those who have accidentally or purposefully locked themselves out of the main story, so yeah, I think that's an appropriate score for Yagram. The last on my list is none other than Divayth. And look, the man is a several thousand-year-old Telvanni wizard. He isn't gonna get a great score, mainly because he has 4.
You flatter me.
I don't know.
4 sister-daughter wives. Yeah, I didn't stutter. Divayth was lonely or just curious. I don't really know why he made 4 clones of himself to marry, but he did. It seems he treats them well, for a Telvanni at least, so that's a positive, but I would not want to join this man's harem. That being said, for a Telvanni, he is also pretty open-minded and progressive. He doesn't hate Outlanders, he's just more preoccupied with his studies of the Corpus disease, which he does help cure you of, technically. Well, you still end up with Corpus, but you're immune to its effects, so that's a positive. Plus, his tower has lots of loot, and he doesn't really get upset if you decide to help yourself to it. In fact, he has 2 Daedric artifacts, the Mace Scourge and the Cuirass of Savior's Hide, in addition to an amulet that will allow you to get a 3rd artifact, the Daedric Crescent. Just don't hurt his corpus patience, and he doesn't mind what you do. Because of all this, I will be scoring with 7.1. And there you have it. This is my ranking of the eligible, air quotes, romance partners based on no real criteria. It's Valentine's Day, so if you've got no one, you're wrong, because I gave you 10 potentially new fictional characters to lust over. So why not fire up Morrowind and get the flirting? Thanks for watching, and I'm sorry?
Sweet